Today we have a performance review of the Nike GT Hustle 2. So this isn't really a new shoe, it is part of Nike's GT line, so the GT Cut, the GT Jump, and now the GT Hustle, formerly known as the GT Run. And I think that was a smart move because even me personally, I thought that that was more of a running shoe. And for me, I would not wear running shoes for basketball or volleyball. So I stayed away from the GT Run, and Nike renamed it to the GT Hustle, which was a good move. So this is worn by like Draymond Green and Wemby, who was Rookie of the Year. So if it's good enough for the Rookie of the Year, it's gotta be a pretty good sneaker, right? Unfortunately, the GT line is a pretty expensive line of performance basketball shoes, but now they have since introduced the GT Cut Academy, which is sub $100. I haven't tried those yet, but I definitely am interested. We'll see if I end up getting a pair myself, but these retail for $180, which is pretty expensive. Would I get them for $180? Probably not, but they are heavily discounted right now, even on Nike.com. And the All-Star colorway, which is mostly black and has air on the side, that is going for $99. So would I get these for $99? Yes. In fact, one of the main reasons why I did get these was Nike kind of launched a Nike refurbished website, which was only here for like a few months. And then I heard that they were going to shut it down. So I was like, today's the last day to buy a shoe. Let me see what they have available in a 9.5. And I was already eyeing the GT Hustle 2, mainly because it has full-length zoom. So that's my favorite cushioning. And luckily they did. Unfortunately, they were in this yellow colorway, which isn't the greatest. It's not bad, but I wouldn't say it's my favorite colorway. And a translucent outsole. But I was like, hey, how much do they cost? So they have like different ratings as far as like the quality of the shoe. So they have like slightly imperfect or gently used. I think there was like 3 different categories, and these were slightly imperfect. And I was like, you know what? $85, I will take it. So I ended up getting them for $85, and so here we are. So jumping into the shoe itself, the upper is mostly made up of mesh, which is honestly pretty comfortable, and it's breathable, lightweight. The high ankle area has a lot of good padding, so that was pretty comfortable around my ankle. The tongue is also pretty padded. It kind of reminds me of like the LeBron 20, where this top part is kind of exposed and unfinished, but it's very thick. Also gusseted, so it goes up halfway, and so the tongue doesn't move around too much, and there's a lot of holes for ventilation. So as far as the upper materials, it's not that premium. There is a lot of suede here around the toe cap, which is probably the most premium material that they have on this sneaker. And that's probably just for like highway areas. But other than that, nothing too fancy, but lightweight, breathable, comfortable, and honestly, not mad. It doesn't look the greatest aesthetically, in my opinion. This kind of looks like jersey material. Of course, it's somewhat padded, but aesthetically, this looks like a very bulky shoe and doesn't look like, you know, oh my gosh, I want to be so athletic in the shoe, which I kind of agree with, but they are very good performers. So the fit, actually, I went true to size, and I would recommend going true to size if you have normal or narrow feet, maybe a half size up if you are a wide footer, but true to size worked really well for me. So I would recommend whatever you get in a Nike, go ahead and get that in this shoe. It does offer a heel counter, which I think is internal, and it did keep my heel very locked down. And as I mentioned earlier, the ankle area has a lot of good padding, so that also applies to your Achilles area. So overall, the fit and the support as far as the upper, I would say performed really well. Again, nothing fancy, and so it doesn't really warrant the high price tag, but I did enjoy this setup. Onto the traction. So as I said earlier, this is a translucent icy blue outsole, which it can be hit or miss with Nike rubber. In this case, it was a hit. They don't really squeak all that much, and it is like a herringbone pattern, but they're on these like circular nubs. So on the nubs, on each circular nub, there is herringbone, and there's a lot of space in between the nubs. So as far as like the traction setup, it is very strange. I've never seen this before, but it did work. So I wouldn't say it's like the grippiest of tractions, but I did not feel uncomfortable, or I didn't really slip much. So if I were to give it a rating, I'd probably give it like an 8 out of 10. But it does have you covered multi-directionally since they are circular and it's herringbone. So I kind of just wish they just went herringbone all the way, but I was not mad with the setup. But the heel to toe transition on this shoe is very smooth. And I think that's because these circular nubs are spaced far enough apart that it lets the outsole kind of, smoothly transition from heel to toe. So I did really enjoy that experience. All right, on to probably the best part of the shoe, which is the cushion. Nike doesn't really say what kind of foam this is in the midsole. It is pretty firm, I will admit that, but it also has full-length Zoom Air, which is very, very comfortable. So they are bouncy, offers good impact protection, both in the heel and in the forefoot because, well, they're Zoom in both because it's full length. But this shoe does not have like a midfoot shank plate, which is fine. So you don't have really that like springiness factor with this shoe, but I did end up adding a Move Game Day Pro insole, which helped a lot with that. So I don't think it's necessary to add this insole to make the shoe worth it, but it definitely enhanced my experience for this shoe, and I will continue to play with them in the shoe because it does add some more torsional rigidity as well, and of course you get a little bit more of a spring-like effect, especially in the forefoot. But altogether, the GT Hustle 2 is a great overall performer. Traction is great, the fit is great, the cushion is great, and just the overall playability I really enjoyed. And in talking to a handful of my friends who actually have the GT Hustles, a lot of them agree that they are sleepers. And even one of my friends was like, I exclusively only play in GT Hustle 2s. I was like, that's kind of crazy. And that guy has like Kobe's and stuff. So I think that just shows like how much of a solid pair of shoes these are. So I would highly recommend them. So for volleyball, anyone in the front row, I would probably recommend this shoe. Good for like tournaments or long matches, mainly because the solid cushion setup, good traction and fit. So just overall, good performer for pretty much any position. If I were to be nitpicky about what position I would not recommend this shoe to, it would probably be DS Liberos, because I personally would prioritize more court feel and less cushion. So give me something that's more low to the ground and I can feel a lot more responsive in, and I could feel the court a little bit better. So I would probably not wear these when I play libero, but if I'm playing setter, front row, I'm definitely gonna have these in the bag. So I wouldn't recommend buying these full price because for $180, you don't get a lot of like premium tech or materials, even though it has full-length Zoom Air. But for $100 or less, I would definitely say this is a cop. Who knows, maybe I will double up, but I gotta get rid of some shoes before I do that. All right, that's gonna do it for this performance review. Let me know if you have any questions. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.